It's Friday, July 10th, and this is now on HNN.
I am hopeful that the leaders here in our state will put the public health interests of the people of Hawaii at the forefront.
As COVID-19 infections surge on the mainland, many cast doubt on the state's plan to restart tourism.
The panel overseeing public schools holds off on approving a plan to reopen campuses.
We don't have certainty, and there is significant evidence that this came from the laboratory. Those statements can both be true.
China is giving the world its first glimpse into its top-level biosafety laboratory in Wuhan.
The coronavirus has changed many things, including change. I'm Nancy Chen, and I'll tell you why some stores are running low on coins.
These stories, plus dine-in service will resume at one Zippy's location. We'll tell you where, coming up on This Is Now.
Happy Aloha Friday, everyone. I'm Jonathan, your director producer, alongside Ashley here. We want to get started with a statement just into our newsroom from the governor regarding the reopening plans for the state.
That's right. Governor Ige and the county mayors have met the last 2 days to discuss the August 1st date and the pre-testing travel program. And less than an hour ago, the governor in a statement said the meetings were productive and said, quote, "We are assessing the current situation in Hawaii and on the mainland and will make an announcement when we are satisfied that the plans will protect the health and safety of our residents and guests." So it appears there will be no update today. We are about 3 weeks away from the reopening date. Meanwhile, health officials are reporting 28 new COVID-19 cases today. The breakdown shows 25 patients are on Oahu, 1 is on the Big Island, and 1 is on Maui, and 1 is a Hawaii resident who was diagnosed out of state. Most cases are a result of community spread, and a handful of cases are travel related. With a surge in cases here at home and across the nation, the list of those opposed to reopening tourism on August 1st is growing. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is the latest person to call on the governor to delay the plan.
Lifting this travel quarantine right now in the midst of this crisis would only increase the risk and the threat to the people of Hawaii. We've experienced relatively low numbers through most of this pandemic, and it largely is because of the implementation of this 14-day quarantine. Basically, 50% of the testing capability that Hawaii has had has been diminished, where the supplier of the reagents needed for testing to one of our main labs has said that they're no longer sending those reagents to Hawaii, cutting our testing capability in half. So that has two major negative ramifications. Number one is we need to be increasing our testing across the state of Hawaii, increasing that contact tracing and testing across the state, not decreasing it. And number two, a lot of this plan to lift the travel quarantine had to do with relying on testing as that safety mechanism. A lot of the details hadn't been released yet or worked out yet, which raised concerns on its own. But now that there is really a limitation in these testing capabilities, it raises even greater concern. So I am hopeful that the leaders here in our state will put the public health interests of the people of Hawaii at the forefront and make the right decision in maintaining this 14-day travel quarantine for the time being.
Even with the state's testing capacity cut in half, the health department says it will be able to meet the demand of about 1,200 tests daily. And it says it has emergency supply kits to conduct 25,000 tests for priority samples. The panel overseeing state public schools is holding off on approving plans to reopen campuses this fall. Lacey Denise has more on what the teachers union wants fixed.
The state's plan to reopen schools hits a snag. The Board of Education, which oversees the Department of Education, deferred action on an agreement with the state teachers union to reopen schools. Thousands of educators and parents testified yesterday. Most of the concerns cited the 3-foot versus 6-foot distance between students and wearing a face mask covering in classrooms. The DOE says students' desks can be 3 feet apart as long as they're not facing each other, and face coverings are not required in classrooms. The department says it used guidance from state health officials, but some teachers are not convinced. Other educators wanted to push back the August 4th start date. The agreement is technically already in effect, but the head of Hawaii's public schools, Christina Kishimoto, plans to meet with HSTA again. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
The World Health Organization is set to begin its investigation into how the coronavirus originated. It comes as China is giving the world its first glimpse into its top-level biosafety laboratory in Wuhan. Ian Lee reports.
These are the images of the Wuhan Biolab China wants the world to see. State media showing the scientists operating with the utmost care. The lab comes with a biosafety platform to ensure researchers are safe from the pathogens they are working on and that the pathogens stay within the lab, says the director. The origin of the coronavirus still remains a mystery. Some U.S. officials believe the lab could be ground zero.
We don't have certainty, and there is significant evidence that this came from the laboratory. Those statements can both be true.
2 experts from the World Health Organization will arrive in Beijing this weekend to begin the investigation into the virus. This comes as U.S. officials criticize the WHO for being too lenient on China.
We can fight the virus better when we know everything about the virus, including how it started.
We know that the coronavirus emerged at a nearby wet market, and there are plenty of theories. Did it come from a bat, pangolin, or as some suggest, the lab itself? The director denies the last allegation, saying there have been no accidents of pathogen leaks or human infections. But a big question remains. As the world demands answers, will the notoriously secretive China allow a thorough, transparent, and independent investigation? Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte says he will not follow the U.S. or Brazil in reopening the economy too quickly. According to Vice News, he described President Trump and Brazil's leader as having a, quote, devil-may-care attitude. Duterte went on to say, quote, "We are poor, we cannot afford total pandemonium." Infections have been rising in the Philippines. They currently have about 53,000 confirmed cases.
Let's stick with developing news from the Asia Pacific. Hong Kong is tightening up restrictions yet again as the country deals with yet another outbreak. We've got CNN's Will Ripley with more on that.
During this pandemic, Hong Kong has really felt almost like a safe zone. They took action very early on to close the borders, test everyone coming into the city for COVID-19, mandatory 14-day quarantine for incoming travelers. And so they pretty much have effectively been able to prevent the virus from coming in from the outside. But what they have not been able to get a handle on now are locally transmitted cases. In fact, a record daily high in the number of locally transmitted COVID-19 cases here in Hong Kong. And the numbers are going up every day. They're still relatively small by comparison. I mean, keep in mind, this is a city densely populated. 7 million people live here, fewer than 1,400 coronavirus cases so far, and only 7 deaths. But if these numbers keep going up, and if this virus starts spreading in the community, if people are walking around and they don't know they have it, health experts know those numbers could shoot up exponentially, and that could be very bad for Hong Kong. They have been able to identify 3 clusters of infection in restaurants and bars, in taxis, and in senior care centers. So in each of those areas, they're now taking steps to test more people. They're imposing more restrictive social distancing measures that begin this weekend. So in restaurants, only 8 people can sit at a table together. And at bars and nightclubs, only 4 people can sit at a table together. People are supposed to wear masks at all times if they're not eating or drinking. They're trying to trace who has been riding in taxis with drivers who may have been infected, although that's tough here in Hong Kong because a lot of people pay cash, don't get a receipt. You have no idea who's coming in and out of the taxi. And at senior centers, they need to test more people. They need to test more of the workers at those centers so that they can try to find out who has this virus and get them isolated as quickly as possible so that more people don't continue to walk around Hong Kong, perhaps unknowingly spreading this virus and making this third wave a whole lot bigger than even the 2 previous waves. Will Ripley, CNN, Hong Kong.
President Trump is visiting the critical battleground state of Florida to raise campaign cash, but his effort to relaunch campaign travel after a hiatus caused by the nationwide surge in cases has hit another snag. He canceled a weekend rally in New Hampshire because a tropical storm is threatening the area. The Portsmouth rally was scheduled after aides spent weeks studying what went wrong at Trump's sparsely attended rally in Tulsa 3 weeks ago. Even before the storm threat emerged, campaign officials had acknowledged that it was unclear how many people would attend the rally in New Hampshire. Here at home, the people processing unemployment claims are still finding fraudsters. Howard Dykes explains.
Of 250,000 Hawaii unemployment claims, there are 73,000 classified as invalid, 10,000 that need claimant verification, and who knows how many false claims by people who stole other people's identity. The State Labor Department says when filing online, let the state see your location to show you're here. And if you get a letter about a PUA claim that you never filed, please go to pua.hawaii.gov. Young Brothers is asking the PUC for emergency rate hikes, roughly a third more than now for many customers, after the legislature failed to approve the $25 million bailout it asked for. The Hawaii Restaurant Association has sent its members a warning. The State Department of Health has begun issuing red placards to bars and restaurants that violate the new distancing rules. A first violation gets a written warning, but 2 strikes and you're out. Starbucks is the latest major retailer to require customers to mask up. The order is not in effect yet. It will take effect next week on Wednesday. Many companies in some states and cities have mask rules, but industry spokesmen have been pleading with the administration to make it a uniform rule nationwide. United shares fall 5% after it reaches agreement with the Airline Pilots Association on early retirement packages for thousands of its pilots. Delta, American, and Southwest all have similar deals already. Delta Airlines has decided to start COVID testing for employees at all its hubs. It's already underway at Atlanta, New York, Detroit, and Minneapolis. It's coming to LAX, SeaTac, and Salt Lake City. Delta workers can expect this by the end of the month. FedEx is hiring by the thousands. The Memphis Business Journal counts 8,000 openings FedEx has advertised nationwide as more people order online what they used to get in stores. Air cargo is booming and FedEx quarterly revenue is up 20%.
Thanks, Howard. Speaking of Delta, the CEO this morning saying the feds should issue a mandate requiring passengers to wear masks.
It would certainly help, and I do believe that would be a good action. I don't expect it to happen, though. So what the federal government has done is left it up to each airline to make their own decisions. So masks are mandated on Delta.
The CEO added that most Delta customers have been respectful when asked to wear those masks.
If the list of problems caused by the pandemic wasn't already long enough, here's one more. There's apparently a shortage of coins in different parts of the country. Nancy Chen explains why.
For you today.
Getting change at the store may be difficult these days. Quick Trip is one of many businesses experiencing a shortage of coins. There are signs posted asking customers for exact change, and if they don't have it, any money back will be in the form of a gift card. It's not an isolated problem. Across the country, companies are warning customers they're low on change.
The COVID pandemic is the reason why. When retail stores were forced to shut down, the U.S. circulation of coins slowed down dramatically.
At the same time, the U.S. Mint had to cut production of new coins because of staffing changes to keep workers safe. The Federal Reserve then put limits on how much change banks would be given. Now that stores are back open, many can't get enough coins from banks and are asking consumers for help.
Just saw the sign in the door of the Quick Trip that they needed coins. So rather than take them to the bank, we just brought them in here.
Quick Trip says customer contributions have eased the problem, but elsewhere shortages continue. A 7-Eleven in Michigan offered shoppers with $5 in coins, cash, and a free Slurpee. Banks are also asking the public to open up their piggy banks.
If you have large amounts of coin at home, take them to your bank and have them run. And then just get the cash. You still have the same amount of money, and we have coins to circulate out.
The U.S. Mint has been able to ramp up production to 1.5 billion coins a month. The Federal Reserve expects the shortages to ease as the economy opens up more. but it's not clear when that will be. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
What a bizarre ripple effect.
Who knew?
Yeah. You know what? I do not like change
Me neither.
at all, and I am a believer in getting rid of the penny as well.
Yes.
I just don't like holding on to it.
I rarely have cash on me let
too.
alone coins.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's go switch gears just a bit, take you outside. Look at that beautiful day. It's now 12:15, but will it stay that way for the weekend? I know someone who knows the answer to that, Guy Hoggy.
How's it on this Friday? We remain cyclone-free in the Central Pacific with a great textbook trade wind weather pattern. However, in the East Pacific, we are tracking Christina, a tropical storm, a very strong one. Winds at 70 miles an hour. There's still a slight, small possibility that it could become a hurricane over the next 24 hours. After that, though, it moves into cooler water where it's eventually going to fall apart. So on Wednesday, it'll be about 1,000 miles out from us, going to be a remnant low. Will not bring us severe weather, although it could bring us some rain maybe next weekend. Now, as far as the rain today, there's not going to be much, just a few windward and Mocha showers. There are clouds upstream embedded with some showers, so we could see a few light passing showers for those windward areas, but rainfall totals will be insignificant. Trade winds, however, they'll be running at surplus speeds, especially windy from Kauai to Maui. Not so much for Kona side of the Big Island. They got the light Kona winds there, so it's going to be quite humid. And we'll see beach weather today. Lots of sunshine will drive temperatures to around 90 degrees. But again, those trade winds will help save us from the humidity levels. And there is a small craft advisory posted for the waters around Maui and the Big Island. Now, surf's on the way up for the east shore. A steady small pulse continues for the south shore at about 2 to 4 feet. All in all, fairly quiet in terms of the surf conditions. So we've got the breezy trade wind weather today, a few windward and Mocha showers, drier conditions with slower winds due for the weekend. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Not too bad, Guy. Thank you very much. Let's check out what's buzzing on the web from the feeds. We're going to start with a diva who's working on her memoir.
Oh.
Any guesses? Well, you can probably see it. Mariah. Yep, she says she wants to cover the ups and downs, the triumphs and traumas of her career and life in this new book she's writing. It goes all the way back to her childhood and adolescence, all the way through growing up into superstardom. This is coming out in September, so we'll have to wait and look for that. I think she's got a good story to tell.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's juicy stuff in that book.
Yeah, I'm sure too. All right, what else? What's up next?
Walmart is planning to launch its own membership service called Walmart Plus. Now, the retailer is reportedly close to debuting a service similar to Amazon Prime in July. The yearly subscription is reportedly $98 and includes same-day delivery, fuel discounts, and other perks. Now, grocery options are also reportedly included to take on Amazon's ownership of Whole Foods.
Why are all these names so similar? Walmart Plus,
Disney Plus, yeah.
Speaking of Disney, we got some changes happening at the Disney theme park, right?
Yep. So in Orlando, Florida, and some Walt Disney World theme parks, they're gearing up for a phased reopening to the general public this weekend. In Anaheim, California, more than a dozen retailers and restaurants opened in downtown Disney yesterday. Those visiting earlier will have to follow those health and safety guidelines, of course, including temperature checks and wearing face coverings. And there are limits on the number of visitors, and social distancing guidelines are also in place.
So I was listening to NPR on my way to work this morning, and I think we even mentioned this. So there's no more hugging of the characters, so you can't really get a close-up picture with Mickey or Minnie. And some of the rides, like the Star Wars ride, which I think usually has a pod of like 6 people in it, they're limiting it to one so you get to ride it by yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure roller coasters will look different too with spacing and.
Interesting time to visit those parks for sure. Also an interesting time to visit the USS Arizona, which resumed tours this morning. Casey Lund was there as it all unfolded, and he filed this report.
Well, this is the very first of those U.S. Navy tour vessels that has come back to pick up guests here at the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center to bring people out to the Arizona. We were lucky enough to tag along on that very first tour. There are new guidelines.
Face masks are required on the boats.
And smaller crowds. But for those with deep ties to this sacred place, the reason for coming here hasn't changed.
My father was part of the 100th Infantry Battalion in 442. and his picture is all over there in the museum. They have a big corner just for him for some reason, I'm not sure. But I wanted to see it before they changed anything. But I wanted my family, of course, to understand the history.
Jonathan Nosaka and his family are among the very first to visit the memorial in months. And for the public servants tasked with caring for these historic memorials, today marks the end of a shutdown that none of us were expecting.
I think a lot of the reason many of our staff chose to come and work here at Pearl Harbor is because they just really care about honoring our American military members, past and present. So obviously here at the USS Arizona Memorial, a lot of our focus is on the men and women who lost their lives on December 7th, 1941 and throughout the entire war.
While the Pearl Harbor Visitor Center is free, there are Kama'aina rates for those other sites like the Battleship Missouri, Bowfin, and Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum. The boat tours out to the Arizona cost just $1, and reservations do have to be made online at recreation.gov. That was my first time actually going to visit the USS Arizona Memorial, and we took a moment to put the camera down, really pay respect to the men that died aboard that ship almost 79 years ago. And that's what's so unique about this opportunity for Kama'aina folks to come and visit some of these sites that maybe you shied away from because it was just so busy with visitors. Now is a really special chance to check them out. I'm Casey Love, reporting for This Is Now.
Thank you very much for that report, Casey.
I'm glad he finally got out there.
Yeah, it's such a really emotional experience. I've only gotten to go once.
Yeah, and any Kama'aina out there, like he said, if you haven't been able to see it yet, now is definitely the time.
All right, switching gears yet again. Big holiday today, right?
Big holiday for Jonathan. It is National Kitten Day. Kitten Day was created to encourage people to adopt more felines, and apparently doing so can be good for your health. Studies have shown that pets can lower stress, and even just looking at cat photos and videos apparently make you happier.
True.
The American Veterinary Medical Association says about 25% of American households have a cat.
Special shout out to Dracula, my cat. I leave the TV on for him so he can watch us on KHNL. Hey Dracula, meow, meow. Wet food coming your way when I get home.
Very cute.
Yeah, and he already knows how Auntie Ashley feels
I'm more
about
of a dog
cats.
person, but I love cats too, and I found this picture. I think it's really funny. If you just ignore my bowl cut first.
I love it. I love it.
Look how mean my cat looks. I don't remember its name, but it looks a little sinister there.
Speaking of animals, we got someone's name, right?
Right. So a Hawaii immersion school has given this monk seal a new name. Say hello to Makanalani, which means gift from heaven. Born back on June 5th, the pup was previously just known as PO5, meaning it's Oahu's 5th pup of the year.
So cute.
Yeah.
So cute. And then up next, everyone's been waiting for this reopening as well.
I know. So you can soon get your zip packs, your Korean fried chicken, and your chili for dine-in service. Zippy is reopening its first location for dine-in on Monday. The Makiki restaurant on King Street is making several changes to keep customers safe when they return. So tables will have dividers between them. The restaurant will also be seated only at half capacity to maintain social distancing, and staff will also clean and disinfect those tables between parties.
What's your favorite Zippy food?
I think the Zip Pack is usually my go-to. It has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But their chili is amazing.
I sort of make my own special order. I'm sure other people do it as well, but I did grilled cornbread and the chili and rice.
Oh, yes.
The grilled cornbread is so good. It takes me back home to Southern Illinois. I love grilled cornbread. You guys, thank you for joining us on this Aloha Friday. We will be back Monday, but we got a lot of news to cover throughout the whole day here at HNN. Again, the governor, as we know right now, not planning any news conference or announcements regarding the travel and pre-testing for that. Reminder, you can always catch our podcast too. Anywhere you find your podcast, just look for Hawaii News Now. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Aloha.